Lots of action, getting cram a lot in there before the All-Star break for our favorite basketball players. I'm Chris Spags, joined as always one of the smartest men in the world of daily fantasy sports analysis, Mr. Fast Eddie Fear. How are you doing, Eddie?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm ready. It's a Tuesday. We got a lot of games in front of us. I feel like that's the time to strike. I am sure we're going to get some terrible news that's going to affect all the lineups I've already
Miles
made.
Turner is in. Did that do
it? No, it's not.
Oh.
I do have a lot of Sabonis, but that's more of a, I still just like Sabonis regardless.
Yeah, I don't think you need to jettison him now. He goes from being, superlative on FanDuel. Yeah, he can get there otherwise. This is the second meeting between these two teams this year, and they were both healthy last game, and they both played 30 minutes, so they spent a ton of time against each other when they played the Lakers earlier this year, and Sabonis had 50 off the bench. So, on Yahoo, I don't think you need to get off your $18 Sabonis at all. DK, it depends where we think the ownership comes in. So, probably because of the flirtation with him starting, I'm disinclined towards it because it'll just some 2-3% ownership will lag over. It'll still kick him into double digits, but still playable on FanDuel. Still probably pretty decent on DK, and still looking pretty sexy on Yahoo. So it's not like you need to run screaming for it. But I'd be much more excited to play Miles Turner where he's available now. Just obviously again a great matchup, and they're generally giving him the 30 plus whatever minutes. So. Yeah, I'd probably be a little more inclined towards Miles Turner, who I actually think gets a little help by the way the game flows out with LeBron back in. So that'd be my first response there would be play more of the odometer.
Well, I guess let's talk about that real fast because I think this game's interesting, and obviously we're going to hit on some of the other high ownership spots, and of course we will do our halftime daddy likes to see where our ownership projections at Awesemo.com are shaking out. LeBron's got a history of killing the Pacers. I mentioned that in my columns today. 11 out of the last 12 or 10 out of the last 11. He's been above 59.5 fantasy points, at least on DK.
Earlier this year it was 60-something.
Yep, earlier this year he had 60-something. I played him a lot last year because of the playoffs, obviously. But he's really killed the Pacers a lot. And to me, that makes me worry a little bit about Turner because I feel like if you're going to drive at anybody and pick up some easy fouls that LeBron does do, Turner would be the guy. So that kind of still gives me some interest in Sabonis besides the fact that he's just a great player versus that second unit.
Yeah, that's I totally agree with everything you said. I'm not too worried about that with Miles Turner just because there is just a giant upside there. He can throw up 50 against the Lakers pretty easily, and I expect the ownership due to the fact that he was questionable all day, and there's so many great centers, it's a little site dependent, but I expect him to be really, really low owned, so yeah, I definitely think his likelihood of foul trouble in the spot is a little bit higher, but I still like him as a tournament play for that reason, and the fact that seeing him get in foul trouble certainly wouldn't be the weirdest thing in the world, would be the reason that one of several reasons, as I previously mentioned, I would still find Sabonis to be perfectly in play. So yeah, I'm right along you there.
Yeah, Sabonis was a good play the other day versus the Pelicans, and I feel similarly about him, but that's just one of my inklings. And I think your logic, though, about it's definitely smart to throw in a little more Turner now because this is some relatively late news that should give him a little bit of leverage on the field if you get him into your lineups. Sure. Eddie, let's talk about the Celtics chalk tonight. We're projecting, spoiler alert for the halftime daddy likes, but Jaylen Brown going to be the highest owned player on the slate. Eddie, everybody's in now on the fact that Jaylen Brown's been a fantastic play whenever Kyrie's out, and it kind of upsets me. How are you feeling about a chalk Jaylen Brown and the rest of the Celtics here with Kyrie on the sidelines?
I think I want to be really under on it. So
really,
yeah. All right. So let's talk about the Celtics for a little bit. This is going to end with me really liking Gordon Hayward. So feel free to, if you've just permanently written off Gordo, feel free to turn off the show. But the fact that Marcus Morris is out makes Hayward much, much, much better to me, and makes Brown worse. Brown's going to move into the starting lineup, which I don't think is a positive change for him. I think he suffers in usage. I think he suffers in shots next to Rozier. I think he now is more likely to surrender minutes in the event of a certainly not unlikely blowout. So the fact that Marcus Morris is out versus just Kyrie, I find to be a pretty significant downgrade. I don't know about pretty significant. I still like Jaylen Brown is still a perfectly great play. I still think Jaylen Brown I project for a very small hair under 30 fantasy points right now. That's just great at 4,900 or 5,100 or whatever the hell you're paying for him. I would much rather play Gordon Hayward. So again, once you take Marcus Morris out, now you're looking at more minutes and more usage for Hayward, who is still not starting. They're doing exactly what I thought they would. There has been exactly one game this year where this team played with both Marcus Morris and Kyrie on the bench. They ran the same three-guard starting lineup with Smart next to Rozier, next to Jaylen Brown. And that was the last game of the year, some month and a half ago, where you got 30-plus minutes out of Gordon Hayward. And he had, I think, 16, 11, and 8, and flirted with a triple-double and got all the bench usage in a game that they won by 20 and still in the blowout. So, and I'd FanDuel, you're talking about small forward versus shooting guard, where there's a couple other places I'd rather go. And, again, as you mentioned, Jaylen Brown going to be the chalkiest player on the slate. So, I think, in general, the universe will underestimate the negative implications of Marcus Morris being out as well, too, for Jaylen Brown. Because I think most people think Kyrie out, good. Marcus Morris out, oh, even better. That's like more usage and minutes and shit to float around. I actually think if Marcus Morris is in, Jaylen Brown is in a much better spot. So taking Marcus Morris out, yeah, I would rather play Jaylen Brown in tournaments would be my, depending on the site, fourth favorite Celtic, probably. He would come on DraftKings after Horford, after Hayward, after Tice, after Rozier. So it'd be my fifth favorite Celtic in a tournament on DK. Just because, again, he's not a bad play, but I think there's now sacrificing usage, less of a chance that he randomly drops 45 on my head. But I'm willing to go the other way and hope that he just gets marginalized by the role, doesn't play in the blowout, etc. So that's I guess about as hot of a take as I tend to levy. So
yeah,
so
I think that's a pretty smart way to look at it, and I certainly wasn't thinking about it like that, but I think you're right. There is sort of a butting heads of usage sometimes when you have these guys, and as we talked about in the show, whenever Kyrie's been out, these guys are basically fighting all over themselves to get more shots up. We've seen it with Rozier, 3 straight games in a row. Give me that ranking one more time. I just wanted to. I don't want to blow by that because I actually want to pick at it a little bit.
It's gonna change site by site, but for tournaments, for me, my hold on, I'll make sure I get this right. And I want to look at the DK pricing specifically before I say this and make sure that I'm not getting this out of order. It's probably in tournaments. Hayward, Horford, Rozier, Tice. Then probably Jaylen Brown gets in there, although I could see him being behind Smart and Tatum for me. Just if he's that popular, all these guys project great against Cleveland. But I think if one of them is going to be that much more significantly popular, I would rather play the other guys when I think that guy is in a situation where he moves towards being less good than is expected in general by the public, zeitgeist, if you will. So I honestly think he might come in like 7 for me among the Celtics on DraftKings. It's going to be different. FanDuel, Horford is 8K. Okay, I would rather play 49 or 51 or whatever the hell Jaylen Brown was than use my only center spot on 8K Horford there. Like, there's a point at which he just gets into a raw point per dollar consideration. But, I like the spot for Gordon Hayward. Look, he's obviously looked terrible. And in that last game, I should point out, was also, I think, the last game where he took 15 or more shots. He didn't shoot great, and we almost put up triple-double. He put up, I think he shot 6 for 15 in that game for his 16, 11, and 8. It was against the Mavs, I think. But the Celtics blew them out by 20. He still played 30 minutes. Again, last time he played 30 minutes. I don't know. That's where I come down on it. So if Jaylen Brown is, but yeah, I guess my big take isn't so much Hayward. Like, I like Gordon Hayward because I do expect him. I do think he still has 40-45 point upside. I think he's owned. I'm guessing, I haven't looked at our ownership yet. Somewhere in the high single digits, as opposed to whatever 30 something. I presume we're throwing at Jaylen Brown.
A little higher than that. 12% on DK right now for Hayward.
12%. Okay. What do we have Jaylen Brown at?
Jaylen we have at 35 right now.
Right. So. Yeah, that's if he's going to be 35, he'd probably be my least favorite Celtic of the 7. I expect to see 27 plus minutes.
Interesting. Okay, I like where you're going with this. I think too. We've seen it with our Knicks, who we discussed on Friday at some length. Hot handitis, I think, is a thing, and it's much easier to get a hot hand in Boston when you are on that second unit. And I agree. That's where Jaylen Brown's done his damage, is being on that second unit, having nobody else taking usage away. He'll pick up some steals, he'll pick up some assists, whatever. And it's hard to take him out because he's doing so well. But in reality, he's just getting runway that he wouldn't have gotten otherwise. So I think your call on Hayward makes a lot of sense. I think as a pivot to Brown, that is a very savvy one. So starting hot, Eddie.
Yeah, I are my rankings just DraftKings? Yeah, I just have only so many hours in the day, and I have somewhere between 1.5 and 3 hours of research, and then sometimes there's tape and reading and research and everything else. And doing each set of rankings would take me another half hour or so, and so I just do the one for DraftKings because that's the most popular site now. So in theory, you should be able to look at it and sort of look at the rankings there, and then figure out whether a price is better or worse on Yahoo or FanDuel, and amortize appropriately in your head. But I do apologize that I don't provide those for all three sites.
All right, so tell me a little more about Terry Rozier, because his price is up a little bit. I think he's still an interesting play, especially as a lead ball handler. Been doing some great damage without Kyrie. I think people got shaken off him a little bit with those bad starts initially when Kyrie went out.
Yeah, I really like him. I have him projected for over 40 fantasy points, assuming the ownership is relatively minimal. I do think there is a big upside. We just had this situation. The last time the Celtics played, and we've seen a lot of him against the Cavs this year, especially if you even want to extend it back to the preseason, where these two teams, I think, played their last 2 preseason games against each other. But I just simply have no worries about the matchup whatsoever. And we just saw this when they played 2 weeks ago or so in Boston. But Kyrie was out, and Rozier, beat the shit out of the Cavs. And I think he ends up, of the starters, doing the most of the work here. Now you're taking Marcus Morris out. That actually does help him for me. I think he's making buckets, or giving the ball to Horford, who's possibly giving him assists in making buckets. Listen, is it impossible to imagine a situation in which Jaylen Brown handles the ball plenty with Rozier and Smart out there? Possible. I don't think it's likely. I think it limits the amount of time he's just touching the ball now. So is it possible against the Cavs that he's the guy who keeps getting open and getting the open shots and produces? Absolutely. Is it possible against the Cavs that he's the guy who, gets the steals and the blocks? Sure. But I really like all the Celtics in this game, and I will play the ones we're not 40% owned. So, Brown, play Smart. Play Hayward, who I like a lot. Play Horford on DK. Play Tice. Tice... Let's see, has played better recently. We previously had been expecting him to see 18, 20 minutes already with Baines gone. He's absolutely playing in a blowout, which is not a non-zero possibility here. I am in the business of predicting blowouts. If you want to go back and look at the previous game I was alluding to, which was against the Mavs, at home, where they won by 20 and they blew out the Mavs. Tice played 23 minutes in that game. Still a wonderful matchup for him. He's very droppable, obviously, on FanDuel. On DK makes a very interesting Kelly Olynyk pivot. He's forward eligible. Yahoo, I think he's a center, so F that noise. You have 2 center spots there, and there's even better $10, $12 guys. Boban, where you're going to go. I think Tice very much in play on FanDuel and DraftKings. So, yeah, I'm going to have Jaylen Brown well down the list for me. He's in phenomenal cash game play. Tournaments I'm going to look up elsewhere.
Not to cut you off, but we are getting some reports in the chat. Apparently, some reputable sources, including The Athletic, are saying that the Hornets are on the cusp of a trade for Marc Gasol. Hard to say where they fully stand, though. I think it might be a Shams report. Not sure. What would you do with Marc Gasol if he's in trade rumors right now? And he didn't expect to play another game in Memphis.
Yeah, I've been following that situation pretty closely. I'm pretty sure he gets moved, more sure than Conley, for a couple of reasons due to his contract and a couple other things. Conley's is a little more difficult to swallow. My response would be that Towns... Look, Towns... All right, so let me talk about Karl-Anthony Towns for a minute. Karl-Anthony Towns is too cheap. And when these two teams just played, I gave the exact spiel, which was, I like Karl-Anthony Towns, but I should tell you, this is his basically worst possible spot. Continuing after that game, Karl-Anthony Towns has never, ever, ever, ever scored 50 fantasy points in a game in which Marc Gasol played. Still hasn't happened. He's now 0 for, I don't know, the number 12 or 13, I think, somewhere around there. It's a really, really bad matchup for him. That being said, and I'll go one more, he tends to really stack up some fouls on Cat. I believe Cat's last 5 personal foul totals in games in which Marc Gasol played are 5-5, 4-4-5, something like that. None of them are less than 4, I will guarantee you. I don't think he actually fouled out in any of them. And in the game I'm talking about, he played, I think, 26 minutes and accrued 5 fouls, even in that overtime game. That being said, with no Derrick Rose and no Jeff Teague, I still think he's great. I still project him for north of that 50 fantasy points. So this is just sort of a full disclosure spot for me. But if you're not telling me that Marc Gasol may not play, then Jiminy Christmas.
It's official. He is out alongside JaMychal Green.
Gasol is out?
Yep, Gasol and JaMychal.
Now it's a party. Okay. Oh, okay. Let me reproject a rotation here. We're gonna want some of these guys, and yeah, Towns is now my number one priority.
Oh, and Noah too, apparently, according to our boy Emac.
Noah as well.
Yep.
So Rob, they'll play Caboclo down at the 4. This is gonna be all kinds of interesting, kids. Okay, so this is now our spot du jour of the day. Let's do a good job reading it a little better than everybody else and making some money.
A little more dramatic gusto in there.
Was I not dramatic enough? All right. No, sorry. I should turn on some music. Like anti-up, I think would be.
Light a candle. Get real romantic with it.
Really nice handle here. I gotta find out if Yuta Watanabe is with the team. I believe he is.
Ooh.
But I'm not kidding. If Yuta Watanabe is with the team, he is going to play 24 minutes. I'm sure you think I'm kidding, but this is a team that already has a paucity of bigs. I'm 99% sure he is with the team, but let's get it figured out. Yeah, but this is still this now is just El Ridiculo smash spot for Towns. I'm still not thrilled with Wiggins. Wiggins was always playable in tournaments. His price is down around 6K, but the matchup is still fairly shit. As is he, for lack of a better description. That's not very nice, but there's also very bad matchup against Memphis repeatedly, and just Towns has so many more ways to produce, including now on the defensive end, which look pretty sexy. Jeez, I really can't believe I'm having trouble getting news as to whether or not Yuta Watanabe is with the team, but that's what my
I know.
life
People
has
need
come
to keep closer tabs on Yuta's whereabouts at any given moment.
I'm disappointed in myself as someone who considers this their profession, and I try to do it, I try to put a lot into it. It's disappointing to me that I've let this...
You've dishonored yourself.
I've let this, and my family. Yeah, I've let this key detail slip through my fingers. So, yeah, here's where I would come down here. Towns is now a priority spend for me. He's my favorite center on DraftKings and FanDuel, and a very strong play on Yahoo, even at some $50, which is the equivalent of $12,000. But the way value works there is very, very interesting. So yes, I would increase my exposure to Towns significantly. Not 100% because there's plenty of centers I like, and this game can turn into a blowout, and still Memphis is not. I'm not doing cartwheels over the matchup, but at this point now it seems pretty likely to me that he plays 36 minutes, and I project him somewhere around 59 fantasy points, which feels pretty sexy for me. Von Robb, I presume, will get the start at center here. You will get Jaren Jackson starting at the 4. I imagine. I mean, the first issue is to say that this Basketball Monster says your boy is in the G League. If that's the case, they're going to dress like 8. All right, here's who's with the team. Let me start with that. I believe who's with the team would be Conley, Mack, Javon Carter, Justin Holiday, Bruno Caboclo, Julian Washburn, Jaren Jackson Jr., Von Robb. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, I don't know. You don't smash Von Robb here. He's been looking real sharp since he's been getting a little more minutes recently.
Yeah, all right. So yes, I like Von Robb. Obviously, there's potential foul trouble issues, but they have to play him until he drops. He and Jaren Jackson have to play the majority of the minutes with the big three. If Yuta Watanabe isn't there, the guys they have who can competently play 4 or 5 are Jaren Jackson Jr. and Von Robb. Caboclo can do it. Julian Washburn can do it, but neither of them you want to. But again, they're dressing 8 dudes. I'm almost certain if we can confirm Yuta Watanabe isn't there. So this will come out in the... But let's assume this is correct. This will come out in the press conference. How great does this get when Triple J gets 3 fouls early? Yeah, and if it makes you feel better, that just happened against this team. He just fouled out against the Timberwolves. So there you go. I still like Jaren Jackson Jr., but Avon Robb, it gets very sexy now. I have to like him more than Tice at pretty compelling prices. He is $3,600 on DK, where he is forward eligible. On FanDuel, he is $3,600, where I now have to prefer him to Daniel Tice. I will say that I presume most people can read a goddamn roster and realize he's one of really two bigs left on the entire damn team. So, he is going to be chalky as hell. So the very reasonable pivots for me are Tice and Olynyk, depending on site. I like both those guys quite a bit. And I think they do have a ceiling, and it's not impossible to imagine that you get, some significant foul trouble issues out of some of the guys in this game. I love Mike Conley. I already loved Mike Conley in a related story. He almost certainly will play some reasonable amount of full minutes. Don't really enjoy the pure game log watching, but Mike Conley's fantasy points over his last 7 on DraftKings are 46, 37, 42, 48, 48, 49, 54. So,
Here's another assist for me, Mac. Yuta Watanabe should be with the team, as best I could tell from a presser clip today on the YouTube channel of the Memphis Grizzlies. Question asked by a Japanese TV reporter.
Yeah, they love him. Like, there's a whole, Lin Sanity, Yao Ming type following, where if you watch some of the local Grizzlies broadcasts, they're like, and Utah, one of the best. So like there's a whole Utah mania thing that goes on. I'm not playing Yuta Watanabe. He's unrefined as a player. I've watched the very limited time he's played in the NBA this year. He has stepped on the court, I think, about half dozen times. But that does make it a little less redonkulous with the minutes. I believe he would be the 9th warm body for this team right now. Assuming you have no Kyle Anderson, no Caspi, Garrett Temple, who may still technically be doubtful. But the bigs especially are really thin. The guards, who also, but like, all right, so I'm going too many things at once. I already like Mike Conley. A, he's obviously playing in exemplary shape. B, has a tremendous matchup when you take Rose, not so much. When you get Tyus Jones and Jeff Teague off the court. Bayless is an execrably terrible defender at this stage of his career. And now he's got to, carry the lunch for this team. Like, this team is probably going to start Rob, Jackson, Caboclo, Holiday, and him. So Jackson has some sort of offensive game, but everyone else is dependent on him for the setup. So I really enjoy 8,200, whatever. Rob and Bruno in the same line, that's fine. I like Rob well more than Caboclo. You'll get Caboclo at a lower price because he shit on everyone in his last game, which isn't surprising. But yeah, he crapped all over everyone in that last game where he got the start and played very few minutes. But again, they've lost all the guys who were going to replace him. I was really hoping Jermichael Green was going to be in so that people could play him again, and we would not play him again because he's fucked up. He's got 2 busted knees. He's not going to play enough minutes to be good.
He was a step slow that last time. It hurt me. It was like seeing your horse that needs to be put down.
I was yelling at you. I'm like, don't play Jermichael Green. He's jacked up. Right. They don't care about.
I didn't play a lot of him, but Bruno Caboclo, that was fun to root for. He's not good, but he's like active and gets random swap blocks.
Yeah.
Fun player.
He's not out of play. He's basically minimum price everywhere. I know he's very. I mean, he's certainly not out of play and is going to have to play really significant minutes here. But anyhow, my priorities would be Towns, dear God, Towns. And then past that, Rob, Conley.
All right. I think that seems fair to me. Let's see. I'm trying to make sure we didn't miss anything here with the chat. Nobody asking any relevant questions.
Justin Holiday is going to jack up more shots now. I don't generally want to go there, but the matchup is just fine for him. And there is still a usage boost for him. So this is good for everyone. So
yeah, I like Holiday even independent of this news. Now that we've got this news too. I mean, he's been shooting a lot. He shot like 16 or 17 times in the last 2 out of 3 games.
He's volume guy. He bludgeons his way towards goddamn value. Like, he's not someone you super like playing. But yeah, I'm a big fan of having big piles of this game now.
We just got an ownership update in, by the way. If you are a premium member at Osmo.com, if you're not, use the promo code Live Before Lock to get 50% off of your first month. Get the ownership projections from Osmo, as well as his rankings from Fast Study. Of course, they're doing a great job for a lot of people out there every single day.
They're all screwed up now, by the way, but go ahead.
Every other day but today, they're doing a great job for people out there. And Josh Engman's projections as well. They were just updated too. Josh very on the ball with doing that. So go check it out now. 50% off with promo code Live Before Lock. Eddie, let's go through these top 5 here. Number 1 with a bullet, still on the list, Jaylen Brown. He might have gone up 1%. No, down 1% to 34% on DraftKings. How is Daddy feeling about Jaylen Brown?
I won't say I hate it. I think he's fine in cash. Again, he's like my 6th or 7th favorite Celtic in tournaments. There's just no reason to. Again, I won't go through the whole spiel again, but I think it is literally a spot in which I'm now concerned for his output. So.
Seems fair to me. Number 2, it's one a little surprising to me, but it's been there all day. Ben Simmons, 24% projected ownership versus the Raptors.
8,600, baby. I mean, a number of the Raptors have been very good against the 76ers have been relatively good against the Raptors this year. They've played them well, or at least certainly produced well over and over. You had big games out of Embiid, big games out of Butler on 2 different teams, and some decent games out of Ben Simmons. And 8,600, I feel just fine about. I probably slightly prefer playing. Well, actually, now because Towns exists, I probably prefer playing Simmons to Embiid because of how that would work site to site. But that's fine. I will. What number do we have Simmons at?
We have Simmons at 24% projected ownership.
I'll say Daddy dislikes now purely because of extra affection for other guys, including Mike Conley at this point. I will try to go other places, but certainly not like a horrific play by any means.
How about number 3 on this list? His teammate Joel Embiid, 22% expected ownership.
Because of the existence of... He will come in less than that because of the Towns situation now, as he should. But I will also want less than that because of my wanting extra Towns now.
All right. Number 4 on the list, Jared Bayless, 22% expected ownership.
I like him now sort of as a run back in this game because... he has played over his head. The matchup is still not exceptional for him, but all the time should be there. Again, that last game between these 2 teams was overtime, but he should still play 36, 37 minutes. So what do we have the exact number
at? 22%.
I'll take the under, and I do think it comes down because of things that open up in this game. But I will somewhat hesitantly take the under in that spot. But that's fine. I barely want under that, I think.
Is this a really good contrarian game stack now of this Memphis-Minnesota game?
I'm futzing with a lineup now, and that's what I have. Yes.
Okay. So to me, I was playing with one too. You can get Wiggins in there. Wiggins going to have a little more usage with Rose out, obviously, taking some less shots off the table there. Bayless been looking good. Towns, as you mentioned, in a much better spot with Gasol out. And then the Memphis piece is all very cheap. Going to have some extra usage as well, and Conley correlates well with them because of that assist upside. Yeah. It's an interesting one.
No, that was speakest right.
Number 5 on the list, Daniel Tice, 22% as well.
Really? I had no idea we'd get that high. Good job, Internet. So once in a while, like every day, something comes out, I'm like, really? People are smarter than I thought. Because frequently they're really, really dumb. I don't know, JaMychal Green the other day is a good example of, I don't know what the hell people were thinking. Like, it's not hard to see the guy couldn't move. But good job, Internet. At that point, I'll be much happier playing Rob. I mean, we're going to refresh these ownerships. And the real number is you're going to have Rob, I'll guess, at about 40% and Tice now at about 14. I'll guess is the numbers on those 2 men. So I'm just fine with Tice, and I would want more than the 14 probably, but less than the 22 you're sitting right now. But I'll throw that as the guess numbers for those 2 men.
Yeah, I think Rob's presence has not been reflected adequately in the ownership projections, but they will get updated, by the way, closer to lock. So that was probably a wrinkle that our team behind the scenes is not expecting, but keep your eyes peeled there, and I'll notify you guys if you are a premium member when we do get an update on there as well. Let's see, what other games should we hit on now? Man, there's a lot of news. I said we were waiting for some lineup breaking news, and we did in fact get it, so I'm excited by that.
There you go.
Let's see. What
you should really want to see now is Boban is starting, because that should be here any second. That's a 7 p.m. game in Charlotte, so we should see Boban starting for the Clippers any minute.
Well, while you're on that game, let's talk about that then, because we have another guy who's going to be projected for some ownership. I don't think it's as crazy as some of these other guys we mentioned, but Malik Monk has a little bit of hype behind him, getting more minutes, getting some praise from Coach Borrego over there as well. Clippers, an interesting matchup as well. Not a lot of ownership expected on them. Nobody above 10% on their side, but versus the Hornets, it is a pretty profitable spot, usually defensively. Got Cody Zeller back in the lineup as well, who should open up Kemba a little more. What are the guys who are jumping out to here in this game, Eddie?
Yeah, I did a deep dive on the whole Cody Zeller thing. I think it was Adam Ship My Money DFS. I'm not sure. I didn't see it, but alluded to in the chat. one of the other hosts at Osmo.com, and again, there are a giant pile of very smart guys there here, and apparently has been beating the drum for how good Kemba is with and without Cody Zeller, and how Kemba's decreased production recently had a lot to do with Zeller not being there. And I went back and looked at a lot of numbers and looked at a reasonable amount of tape, and I really didn't realize until I was focusing on it, and I think unsurprisingly, I hadn't spent a lot of time watching Cody Zeller as the number one guy I'm watching when a basketball game is going on. He's really good. Like, his ability to set screens and manage the pick and roll and do all the off-the-ball stuff is really, really impressive to me. And he's much more athletic than I thought, too. But, yeah, long story short, I don't think, I'll speak for myself, I don't think I fully appreciated how much of Kemba's issues were based on the fact that Cody Zeller wasn't there. That being said, Cody Zeller is going to come off the bench, which is going to, limit his time, which I'll guess will be about 20 minutes, and also limit the time on the court next to Kemba, which is probably going to be 13 of those minutes or something. So I don't think we need to go, ape shit on trying to get infinite Kemba or Cody in our lineups today. Like, 4K for Cody Zeller is cute, but I don't think we need it now in the world of Tice, Rob, Boban, etc. Kemba's fine. I know at this point. Definitely prefer Mike Conley. I still prefer Terry Rozier at his price. I actually still slightly prefer Damian Lillard, where they're very similarly priced. But I'm fine with that. Other guys in this game, it's tough to go to. I like Lamb in tournaments. This is it's a fun deep dive to talk about how this Clippers backcourt is filled with good defensive players and just gets raped every night. It has a lot to do with the fact that the rim can't be defended by any of the centers on the team. But it's really, really funny because you're like, gee, it was Avery Bradley and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, who's an excellent defender for a rookie, and Pat Beverly, and still somehow they just get beat around the head and shoulders by guards constantly. But yeah, long story short, I don't really want to deal with bigs wings here. It's not a day I'm particularly feeling good about Batum or Marvin or MKG. I know Lamb is popular. I don't terribly like that. It's fine in tournaments, but at this point, I'd probably rather go with someone else. I just don't think it's terribly likely he throws me, super upside, and he's been talked about more than I think Malik Monk should be. He's fine, but I don't think I like him as much as the field. So yeah, there's sort of Kemba or bust for me. I don't think he can go with any of the centers. Kemba or Lamb. I like Lamb plenty. I probably like Lamb a little more than Kemba just because of ownership. Again, there's some concerns there, but if you force me to play a guy in a tournament, it'd probably be Lamb then Kemba, and then I don't want to think about it for Charlotte. Cross the ball, probably want to go with Lou Williams first. Setting aside site-dependent pricing anomalies like 4,400 Shai Gilgeous-Alexander on DK. That's too good. So he would be my favorite player there. But in a vacuum, Lou, Boban, if he's starting, I think actually gets plenty of time. And it's a match.
You just came in. Gortat is starting.
Really? All right. Well, that makes life easier. You can turn all your Boban shares into Rob on most sites. That'll make your life a lot easier real quick. Or Tice. So there you go. Back to Gortat. Bleh. Don't mind Montrezl or Ezzel here. It's still, you worry a little about the minutes. The production has been certainly sporadic. Ends up being site-dependent. The pricing is still 22, I think is the number on Yahoo. That's too cheap. When they played earlier this year, he dropped 50 against this team. When they played earlier this year, you got 50 out of Lou and Montrez, which unsurprisingly makes a lot of sense. They're the two guys who set up the most, and I feel more confident in both of them with the continued absence of Gallinari. But I like the Clippers much more than Charlotte in general. Charlotte, I don't really want anyone, and I'm fine with Lamb or Kemba. Clippers, I legitimately like Shai on DK, certainly. I like Beverly in tournaments just about anywhere, even at his increased price tag. He's just been significant with Gallinari out. I like Tobias Harris to have a shot of getting around his messed up shoulder, which I do think is scoring with him, but it's still a spot where there's a huge ceiling. I like Lou. I like Montrez. So, yeah.
Let's see.
Good
question here, which I lost. Never mind. So give me a little more thought on. So okay, actually, one thing I want to raise to you with Malik Monk. So they won 3 out of their 4 last games for Charlotte.
True.
In those 3 games, Malik Monk about 30% or over. The one loss under that. So that would be my one reason. I think that Borrego's realized that Monk's scoring is probably helping them out because they've been so impotent offensively overall. Where I feel like I think there's enough heat being worth some exposure in tournaments. I agree that I wouldn't want to match the field, but I would just throw that out for Monk as a
No, that's exactly how I feel. I completely agree with what you said. That's exactly how I feel about Monk. I just at this point, more value is opening up. Popular Malik Monk is not a spot I feel the need to super jump on.
Okay.
But yeah, I'm fine with that. Yep, Gortat starting. There it is. Disappointing.
So that all seems fair to me. Let's talk about New York real fast because we're getting a lot of Dennis Smith Jr. questions. He was a little bit hampered by foul trouble in his debut versus Memphis. Was that what it was? Yeah. So a little hampered by foul trouble in that one. Should get his full run of minutes here. Still at a pretty reasonable price on every site. How are you feeling about DSJ, and how are you feeling about the Knicks now that maybe we understand the rotations a little more, slightly more than we did the other day?
I don't think we understand the rotations any better. I don't think the rotations the other day are indicative of much. If you make me play one in a tournament, it would be Dennis Smith Jr. I think they're committed to him. I do think maybe he gets a couple more minutes than last time. I'll guess 30, 31 minutes, since thankfully they're still minus a couple of point guards, and he's the one player I think they're committed to. You want to go to too cheap DeAndre Jordan, that's fine, but there's other guys even at his price I like a little more than him in tournaments, and I'm not shocked if that number of minutes comes down. They want his size. He's fine against Drummond. Drummond is fine against him. Someone I would have had a lot of interest in on DK at 8,300. Not a brilliant spot for him, but I project him for like 47, 48. I think the most likely scenario is DeAndre Jordan starts, gets his 29, 30, 31 minutes in a big matchup. But with Mitchell Robinson back, I'm not shocked to see 24 out of him, some combination of Vonleh, Cornette, and Mitchell Robinson backing him up. Like, maybe. I don't know. I have very little confidence in what to do with this team. Knox probably sticks for 30 minutes. Okay.
He's shooting a ton. Usage rate up over 30% in that last game.
Yeah, it's just not a brilliant match. I mean, I like the matchup for Dennis Smith Jr., though he's been shit against Detroit in the past. Has not taken advantage of what I would consider to be above average matchup with Reggie there. Again, it would depend on where we project his ownership. If he's going to be, 15%, that's about where he should be, and I'd be fine with about that level of exposure to Dennis Smith Jr. If he was going to pull in over that, I'd rather look other places. I just think I really like Dennis Smith Jr., and I like his opportunity here. I really like what the Knicks did, and he's still 20 years old, I believe is the exact number, and one of the most half dozen athletic guys in the league. He's Westbrookian at times. I really like Dennis Smith Jr. But this matchup isn't brilliant, and the Knicks are just dysfunctional. So, I wouldn't want to be there if it was popular. I'll put it that way. But it's just fine. He's the most likely guy. But I don't. There's just no reason at this point to play people on this team. There's just no reason to play people on this team at this point. I'm strongly disinclined towards playing Knicks. Like, I need a good matchup or I don't know. It's just none of them scream I have infinite upside. Like, Dennis Smith Jr. is the most likely guy. You're telling me someone has to get 40 fantasy points on this team tonight? Him, maybe DeAndre Jordan. They're the two guys where it doesn't really demolish their price, and then the rest of the team is going to play between 8 and 31 minutes. And, you want to play Vonleh in a tournament? That's fine, but he's worse at the 4 than the 5, and I'll guess like a 20% chance he gets any time at the 5. Wes Matthews might get 20, 30 minutes again. Might get 14. I'll take the under on him getting as many minutes as last game. I don't know how many of those go to Trier or Dotson or Hazonia, what the hell they're going to do on the wing. So, yeah, it's just that's literally much more time than I wanted to spend talking about the Knicks. I'm not excited.
No, that's fair. I'm still a little bit intrigued by the Knicks because I think there is going to be a little more of a reliable rotation for at least Matthews and Dennis Smith in particular, and Junior in particular, rather. And Kevin Knox just intrigues me. He shoots so much. We talked about it last time. He's only scoring right now, but he's just shooting so much where it blows my mind. But tell me more about the Detroit side, because we are getting questions about that, and particularly your thoughts about Blake. But also we have Reggie Jackson, Noah Smith in the lineup today. Should get a little more run there. Andre Drummond. These guys didn't see their full run yesterday because they shockingly blew out the Nuggets at home. How about the Pistons side?
Yeah, the Pistons and the Pacers, the two teams on the back ends of a back-to-back today. Again, as all things site dependent and price dependent, but put mildly in this point, it's going to be hard for me because I prioritize Karl Anthony Towns to have either of these men. That being said, most places I would rather have Blake Griffin at this point. And I think that they're fine. I don't have a strong preference. I like Reggie Jackson, again, DK specifically, where he's still way too cheap. Not way too cheap, but too cheap. FanDuel is like appropriately priced, and so I think you can move away from that. That's really it for me. I think playing Stanley Johnson is ridiculous. I mean, I think it's literally hilarious. The fact that like the guy goes unranked by, every person who works on fantasy for months because he plays inconsistent minutes and produces inconsistently when he plays and frequently doesn't get defensive stats and is like a career under 40% shooter and then has one really good quarter yesterday, then all of a sudden gets ranked by everyone, absolutely cracks me the hell up. Yes, definitely let's ignore the previous 19 games and pay attention on those 12 minutes where he scored 35 fantasy points. Like, I have very little interest in Stanley Johnson. I don't think this is... And again, Stanley Johnson's someone I liked frequently earlier this year when we expected it, but certainly when he gets popular, I don't think there's a need to be quite that cute.
Getting some questions about more thoughts about the Raptors game with the Sixers here. You mentioned Ben Simmons, a little bit about Joel Embiid as well. But give me your guys in this game, which ones you're feeling comfortable with. I know the deeper dive guys generally not fans of Kawhi Leonard, but I think here he's had some pretty good games versus the Sixers this year, and I'm intrigued by running back him and Joel Embiid, maybe Butler as well. But how are you feeling about this game, Eddie?
Yeah, I like $9,300 Kawhi, and certainly the fact that he has played well against the Sixers earlier this year. Does I say this? I don't remember what it was, 55, 60 something. I think in the 2 games against the Sixers this year that he played, of the 3, he sat one. This is the 4th and final game between these two teams, at least for the regular season. Hint, hint. Yeah. I like Kawhi. I think at what we project his ownership to be, he looks just fine to me, especially DK. Obviously, it changes a bit site by site. I'm trying to amortize the rest of this team site by site here. I'm fine with Ibaka, a little more cashy. I don't particularly like the matchup. I would rather play Pascal Siakam where he is available. Lowry was halfway decent, even in one of the games where Kawhi was there this year. I don't think that's apropos. But no, he hasn't looked a lot. He tends to defer to just about everyone on the damn team, so I don't want to spend even $7,000 on Lowry. You don't want to play Van Vliet with Lowry. And so yeah, for me it would be I like Siakam. I like Leonard at where he's priced well, and our limited expected ownership for him. I actually think this is a fine spot for him, and I like having Wilson Chandler out. That actually is going to help him even a little bit more. So I have him projected for a little over 50, and that makes him a strong play for me. At 93, I'm good with that. That feels fine to me.
Getting some questions about Tyreke Evans being the starting lineup at home versus the Lakers here. How are you feeling about Tyreke Evans today? His price is down. He has had some struggles, obviously, in the starting lineup, but maybe it's his time again today. How are you feeling about Tyreke?
He's fine in tournaments. I can't tell exactly what's going to happen. Like, I like the fact that he's starting. I would rather now play Corey Joseph, who goes back to the bench. Like, that's... could you now get 26 minutes instead of 20 minutes out of Tyreke? Sure, and could he give you 38? That's fine. He is, to me, a reasonable to palatable play where he is cheap enough. I think DK, especially Tyreke, is significantly very cheap. So I'm fine with it. I'm not shocked if this means some extra minutes. The matchup with the Lakers, I think, generally is a strong one. But again, moving to the starting lineup, if his 19 or 20 minutes turns into 23, that's like an average move for me. That would be about even for me. If he gets up to like 26, okay, now we're sort of talking something. And maybe that works out. But not a lot of faith in him, I think, for good reason. So, I would rather play Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. I would rather play Justin Holiday. But if you end up on Tyreke, I can't remember exactly what Tyreke's price is. I want to say it's like $3,800, $3,900. So I'm actually just going to go look it up.
4,200 on DK. I don't know about FanDuel.
42 on DK. I prefer Shai for $200 more if you can get there. And you look for Aaron Gordon on DK. I actually like him quite a bit.
Talk about the other side too, because somebody asked about Gordon run back with Paul George Westbrook combo, which is one that I actually talked about in my column, and I'm a big fan of because anytime the Thunder can stay in a game, that is always a good sign for them. And
I like that a lot. And this is the matchup I think ends up being best for Gordon here. And again, we got a very decent game when these two teams played just recently. That was the game where Steven Adams sat, and we had the Nerlens start, and you ended up getting mid-50s out of Vooch, 40 or so out of Aaron Gordon. I think that's almost exactly what I would project for those guys tonight, and it's now nominally at least a better matchup for Aaron Gordon and a worse one for Vooch when you put Steven Adams back in there, so you'd expect a little of that usage to move back the other way. And again, one of those guys is 10 grand and the other is, I think, 62 is the tag on Aaron Gordon. So Aaron Gordon, my much less consistent quantity than Vooch, especially this year. But Vooch now dealing with the tougher matchup, and Gordon with the one I feel most confident in on this team, and just the price tag certainly makes him, for me, a very good tournament play. So I'm pretty excited about getting some Aaron Gordon. I have Russell Westbrook for about 7 fantasy points more than Paul George on DraftKings. Because of their prices on DraftKings, that makes me prefer Paul George as a play by a little bit. FanDuel, I slightly prefer Russell Westbrook as a play. So it ends up being a little site dependent, but both those guys in slightly above average spots for me. It's an Orlando team that is playing better defense than I think most people expect, which is understandable after playing shitty defense for 1,000 consecutive games over a dozen years. But they've started to look much better on that end of the court, and some credit to Clifford for that. But no problem still with Schroeder in tournaments. Westbrook, fine just about anywhere. George, again, DK, where the highest percentage of our people are playing, probably my preferred play. I would rather play Steven Adams than DeAndre Jordan at the exact same price, for example. That's one guy I would rather play over him.
Thoughts on Larry Nance on FanDuel?
We should have a lineup. Is that not a 7 p.m. game? So we will. We should get a lineup. If he starts, I'm interested. If he doesn't, I can't do it, and I don't expect him to start because they're horrible. But if he started, I would love him and make a priority of getting him in there if they start him at the 4. I don't expect them to be that smart about it because they're them. Right now, I have to presume he is going to play 20 minutes of backup center, and that's not good enough for me, especially in a world of Rob and Jaren Jackson and Olynyk and lots of other guys I know like at power forward at not ridiculous prices on FanDuel. So, yeah.
All right. Thoughts on Evan Turner on DK for a late night hammer? I don't know why Evan Turner would be, but sure.
No, thanks. They even have Rodney Hood available, I think. So really, no. No.
How many Grizzlies would you say are too much for cash?
It's going to depend on site. I will guess that the person is talking about DK. And again, that's the and I mean this as nicely as possible. How many Grizzlies is too many, or how many X is too many, is generally one of the most worthless questions because it depends how much the guys cost. If you are playing Yvonne Robb and Justin Holiday, I really don't care about them that much. So there probably is not a number of guys who count, like 3 guys who caught, like playing, I'll give you an example. Playing Jimmy Butler and Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid in cash is probably not ideal, although it's more ideal than playing it in tournaments for reference, but we don't have time for that. But playing Mike Muscala and Jonah Bolden and Jimmy Butler is just fine in a tournament because 2 of those guys cost absolutely nothing. So it really depends which goddamn dude. So I cannot answer that question well in a vacuum.
All right. Let's see. Can we do better than Wes Matthews at forward spot with 4K left? This guy's already got Tyson Robb.
Oh, look, I can't think of anything off the top of my head, but go ahead and queue up another question while I take a look at that. I would think you could, but I will get in there right now and look. If you do, Kelly Olynyk. Play Kelly. Ooh.
Would you go Conley and Blake or Westbrook and Reggie Jackson for DK cash?
For cash, I would probably play Westbrook and Reggie Jackson. For tournaments, I'd go the other way.
Let's see. Would you go Jordan Clarkson or Alec Burks, which is more likely to exceed value on DK?
Yeah, I like Burks a bit more. Thanks for bringing that up. The fact that
Rodney Hood is gone.
The fact that I'm sorry.
Rodney Hood is gone.
Yes, the fact that Rodney Hood is gone and Stauskas and WB4 Warner Brothers there are not checking in. Now makes me feel pretty solid about these guys as far as minutes go. I don't want to play David Nwaba. I don't want to play Darren Blossingame. I don't want any of that shit. But I would now, even in what's a pretty goddamn dreadful matchup, be interested in, for tournaments, First two guys would be Clarkson and Burks, and I will prefer Burks between those two guys. The minutes have been really consistent, just contributes in more ways. Clarkson, I think the upside is a little more limited because you can randomly get steals and blocks and rebounds and lots of other shit out of Burks that you can't get out of Clarkson. While Clarkson, obviously, a more talented, legit scorer, I feel more confident in the minutes for Burks. So, yeah, 51, I believe, is the nut on DK. Alec Burks would be my choice guy there. And, yes, I would much rather play him over, say, Jaylen Brown in a tournament at 5% on versus 37.
This one may be an easy one, but would you go Bruno Caboclo or Daniel Tice for cash?
That's not that easy. Because I like right now, if you put a gun to my head and say over under minutes for Bruno Caboclo, I think I say like 31 or 32. That feels pretty good for cash. Like, he's not good and doesn't do lots of good stuff. And for Daniel Tice, you put the same gun to my head, I think my answer is 21 or 22. So they end up coming in pretty goddamn close for me. I will say Caboclo at the moment for cash.
And if it makes you feel any better about Caboclo, he did get the shots in that game where he disappointed. He did get open threes, he just didn't hit them.
Yeah, he just could not make shit. He did his best Landry Shamet.
He did a very reputable Landry Shamet there. Griffin, Lillard, or Simmons? Who would you go with? No site given.
Lillard in a vacuum. Avon Robb now projected for 48% in our projections, which, yep. That seems about appropriate. Like, he just has to play infinite minutes. I'm starting to get interested in Watanabe. I'm staring at the screen looking for Yuta Watanabe alerts to hit.
Oh man, if he wins somebody a tournament somehow, I don't know how that would happen, but that would be a great day for Japan and a sad day for me not having Yuta Watanabe in my life.
Oh, Watanabe. He's excellent. I enjoy watching him play, and he has some game, and like there's always a very dedicated section of the crowd that goes nuts for him, and specific announcers who lose their shit. But I'm the guy who likes listening to the Japanese announcers when he watches like the Royal Rumble and shit.
Oh yeah, New Japan too. I prefer them.
Oh yeah, NJPW is all kinds of exciting. 4 minutes, my man.
Let's see. Would you go? Actually, here's a question about Shelvin Mack. I guess. Do you feel like he gains anything from all these people being out?
Yes, he's not playable in a tournament. As was priced previously with the increase, with everything else going on, there's no one who's dressing for the Grizzlies who is not playable in a tournament. You can play Watanabe. You can play Javon Carter. You can play Shelvin Mack. They are going to dress now, I believe, 9 dudes. Oh, look at that! Fantasy 13 seconds ago. Fantasy Labs. Grizzlies available are Conley, Holiday, Caboclo, Robb, Jaren Jackson Jr., Carter, Mack, Washburn, Watanabe. I got it right on the nose. 9 guys if Watanabe is in, and they're saying he's available. Those 9 guys are all playable in tournaments. I would rank them in tournaments at this point. Jackson Jr., Conley, Robb, and again, Robb is by far your best points per dollar guy, but again, he's going to be 50% on. So probably Jaren Jackson Jr., Conley, Robb, Holiday, Caboclo, I'll say Mack, Carter, Watanabe, Washburn. In that order, I would rank them. I probably don't want to play Washburn as he's most likely to only see 20 minutes of those guys. But, yeah, I mean, those 9 guys have to play 240 minutes. So, that averages out to, 24 apiece. More, actually, 26. So, yummy.
So, go Grizzlies, go. I think that's the overall takeaway for the day.
Yeah, not a dreadful matchup either, and most of the young guys you're going to play are going to play in the blowout anyway. If it gets into a blowout, they will play Watanabe, Washburn, Mack, Carter, and Robb. Will be the 5 guys on the court if you're curious.
Let's see, Reggie Jackson and Steven Adams, or Conley and Bruno for DK cash.
The first one for cash.
Kawhi or Black for Yahoo cash?
Which Black?
I don't know. I don't know.
Tariq Black is not currently in this country, so I got nothing to answer that question. No, don't play Dang Adele. He's absolutely out of play with all the value that has opened up.
Maybe he's doing a special color-coded lineup thing. I don't know what the deal is with that. I thought there was just somebody I was missing, like maybe a nickname that I missed somehow. But
no, I feel you, dog. I'm just saying. Yeah, I have no idea what.
For a FanDuel GPP, would you go Westbrook and Batum or DSJ and Kawhi?
DSJ and Kawhi.
Thad Young or Jason Tatum for a DK GPP?
It depends on my other number of Celtics. I like both those guys roughly proportionately otherwise, so it's going to depend. If I have less than 2 Celtics, I'll say Jason Tatum. If I have at least 2 other Celtics of price, I'll go the other way.
All right. Would you any lean on Russ and Wes Matthews versus Paul George and either Hayward or Jaylen Brown?
I would play Paul George and pretty clearly Hayward over Jaylen Brown at this point.
Holiday or Malik Monk for a FanDuel GPP?
I'll take Holiday, so.
All right. FanDuel GPP, would you go LeBron and Gortat or Bridges and Towns?
Bridges and Towns.
Okay. Let's see, anything. Julian Washburn, I guess any more thoughts on him for Saz Crib?
My least favorite of the 9 Grizzlies in a tournament, close to out of play. I would project it probably 21 or 22 minutes. Though I'm not terribly confident in that number without the time to go back, check some locks, check some rotations. But I feel good in saying that Watanabe should see more time than him because of how they've been deployed previously.
Okay. For fantasy draft cash, would you go Caboclo and Clarkson or TJ McConnell and Jaylen Brown?
Caboclo and Clarkson.
All right. DJ and Jaylen Brown or Burks and Miles Turner in cash when you already have Sabonis in the line?
Kuzma will play and start. Say again the question.
It was DJ and Jaylen Brown or Burks and Miles Turner in cash when you already have Sabonis.
We are locked.
For prosperity, then.
I think I'd slightly have gone with the first one, but I have them almost identical.
All right, so there we go. We are locked. Let's see what the ownership has given us so far.
All right, good show.
Time for America's favorite game.
I enjoyed that. Haircut
going up on Tuesday with Daddy Likes.
Now, I have an interesting conflict now. I have a haircut scheduled for Thursday, but I'm kind of interested in doing sort of a trade deadline show, which would be right at the exact same time. So I may cancel. I mean, this is getting a little ridiculous. Between my hair and my eyebrows, I'm really starting to resemble some sort of chia something. But,
or a Woolly Willy.
Oh, that's sweet. Let's see what's big. The 425K Big Jam. Love those names. All right, I'm downloading the ownership.
I would say the Big Jam better than the Micro Millions, which doesn't make sense because they're often not giving away millions.
Yes, that would seem to be bad advertising. I guess maybe if the entire thing walks up there. Jesus, you people. Jaylen Brown, 46. That's obviously going to be my whole day. So we will see how that goes. But Jaylen Brown, 46. Gordon Hayward, 9. I much prefer Gordon
Pretty
Hayward.
Big pivot there if you were right.
We will see. We shall see. Again, I spent 10 minutes on Jaylen Brown. I shall not go further, but I would want under 46%. And again, I like him at 4,900, 5,000, 5,100. That's a very, very solid play. But I'm thinking the upside may be muted. The usage may be hurting. I said I wouldn't explain this again, and here I am doing it.
You just can't help yourself. No, you made a great point. Like I will defend your points to death. I still have a lot of Brown, but I think you made a very credible case where I put in some Hayward just because of your view on it. So.
Yeah, we'll see. I'll get 100 You're a Geniuses or 100. You cost me $100,000 by the end of the night, and that's how that goes. Terry Rozier, 21%. I don't hate that. I'd probably want a little under 21 at this point. Again, he's not cheap where he gets close to 7K. But like him, a fairly decent amount. Jordan Clarkson, 16. I would want less than that. Again, I would prefer Burks. We have Jordan Clarkson at 16, Burks at 13. Both those are about the correct exposure. I would probably invert them roughly. I'd want a little more Burks than Clarkson. Nance, 15. Did we get a lineup and I missed it? Because I'm really nervous about that.
I didn't see the Cavs come through, no.
Yeah, I'm just worried he plays 18 minutes. So that, especially on a night where I like a lot of players, I like a lot of forwards.
He is actually, in fact, not starting as of 1 minute ago. It is Sexton, Burks, Deng Adele, Nwaba, and Zizic.
That's what I expected. Someone asked me earlier today. I said, I think they start Deng at the 3, Nwaba at the 4, because they will do anything other than start Larry Nance. So, yes, I would want way less than 15% of a backup center who's going to play 20 minutes in a bad matchup. Daniel Tice, 14.4. That's fine. Again, that locks some of those people away from Rob. I do prefer Rob raw points at this, but both Tice and Olynyk, I think, are excellent pivots away from a chalky Rob. Jason Tatum, 14, feels good. He's a Celtic not named Jaylen Brown. Alec Burks, 13, previously addressed. Al Horford, 13, feels good. He's a Celtic not named Jaylen Brown. Domantas Sabonis, 11. Okay, I'm fine. That's about what I figured was going to happen with the flirtation before he would have gone up to, some more large number. And in a vacuum, if there hadn't been any Miles Turner news today, I think he's 8, and he sort of got held around 11, but that's fine if where you ended. Kemba, 10, feels good. Shea, 10, like that a lot. Tyreek Evans, 9.3, that's fine. Obviously starting, there was not such a massive sort of sheeple move that he ended up 28%, so if you have 9% Tyreek, I would feel fine with that. Gordon Hayward, 9.3%. Terrified to be risking my professional reputation on his shaky legs and backward turned foot, but that's where we are. Marcus Smart, 8.3, very good, because he is a Celtic not named Jaylen Brown. LeBron James, 8%. 8% LeBron James feels pretty good. Sat out a game, played 40 the game before that, not a back-to-back here. As you mentioned, reputation for spanking the hell out of the Pacers. 7.5% Lou Williams. I like that. I'd want to have a lot of that. Malik Monk, 5.3%. Okay. I'm just not sure the upside is there, and there's a lot of other value I like a lot more, and it's weird, but like Avon Robb being there does, really affect how much I like Malik Monk. So probably just based on all that news to do with Memphis. Disinclined towards Colin, team sex, 5.3. That's fine. Like him better in cash than in tournaments. Just not a guy who generally carries a ton of upside. It's a bad matchup. There aren't a lot of steals and blocks to be had against this team, and even if there were, he isn't the guy who was going to get them. Marvin, 5.2. Probably want less than that. Don't necessarily love this spot. And you bring Cody back, threatens minutes by 2 or 3. Rondo, 5%. I like that. I'd want more than 5%. Still, is a little too cheap at 7K even with Bron back in there. Miles Turner, 5%. I'd want more than that. That feels good. Bojan Bogdanovic, 4%. Fine, that's about right. Brandon Ingram, 3.6. I like that. He's 5,900 on DK. Like, you don't like Bron back there, and if you look at his, production with and without Bron, it is really stark. But 5,900 is cheap enough that I'd want over 3.5%. Montrezl, 3.5. I'd want more than that. Darren Collison, 3%. I'd want more than that. Batum, 2.6. I would let that go. But Pat Beverly, 2.6. I'd want more than that. David Nwaba, I'd need to check the price. More of sort of a cash punt for me. The fact that they gave him the start at the 4, I do think he gets into the high 20s here. So I generally like David Nwaba. I could see doing that. More of a FanDuel play for me where you can drop it and steals and blocks get you there. Thad Young, 2.3. Love that. Tobias Harris, 1.7. Love that. Boban, 1.68. Has been in the rotation 3 games in a row. Locking him in now with someone else starting, there's a real chance he doesn't play. And again, you're in the world of Rob and Tyson and other guys, so probably I wouldn't play it at this point, but don't hate it. Lamb, 1.5. I like that. MKG, 1.5. Again, minutes going to be impartial a little bit here. Cody Zeller, 1.4. Okay, I just doubt he gets enough minutes to get there. Zizic, 1.25. I like that a lot. KCP, 1.1. I like that. Avery Bradley, 1.1. I like that. Lance Stevenson, 105. Again, Bron back making that a little tricky for that to occur, but that makes some sense. Kojo, 1%. I like that a lot, and much more so than Tyreek at 9.3%. I'd have them projected pretty much identically, so 1/9 ownership is good. Wanamaker, sure, looking at the blowout, that makes some sense. JaVale, 0.86, sure. Blossom Game, 0.57, sure. Tony Parker, 0.55, like a butt ton more than Malik Monk at 10 times the ownership. Kuzma, 0.5, where he's in and starting. I love that, actually. That's very nice to get that in under the wire. Good job, some people. Zubac, 0.4, sure. Dellavedova, 0.35. Biombo, 0.35. Gortat, 0.3. I probably like. I don't recall his price offhand. Scott, 0.26. Dangadell, 0.26. Marcus Morris, 0.23. Congratulations. You played yourself.
Wait, our guy Raboshua put in 100% Ben Simmons in 50 lineups today. That's a bold play right there.
I mean,
and 96%
Jimmy Butler. Too cheap. It is really surprising to me if, like, I guess you could, sort of shit and get you like 38 and kind of mess up your day. But I like the spot for him, and there is an upside there, and him just flat out disappointing you does seem to be fairly unlikely. So that's a fine stand for me. I just like guys in the range where I like Damian Lillard a lot. So that would make it tough for $300 more. I would probably want to chop that in there somewhere, but I don't consider 100% either of those guys to be crazy stands to take.
Yeah, that's fair. I think what I saw last time when just looking at the I don't like the matchup for him on paper, but his last game too, he got above 50 fantasy points, but basically hit every shot. And obviously he can do that again. Not like it's anything changed there, but I don't know. I'd rather go Butler. I like Butler in the games where the scoring's tough because I feel like he gets more usage.
Yeah. And he's been good in general against Toronto, against Kawhi. So yeah, I would be fine with again all three of those guys. Two of them are probably gonna be pretty good, so I'm not hating on it too much.
Yeah, I agree. Good for you, Bosch, with taking a bold stance. Sometimes you got to make a stand like that if you're seeing something the rest of the world may not. So good for him.
Absolutely.
All right, guys. So thank you guys for tuning in. Make sure to hit the like button on your way out. Obviously, we're here for you every day doing this stuff, adapting to the news as it comes on the fly. Eddie just leaking all of his brain fluids out with all the information he dropped on you guys about the Grizzlies rotation today. But check that like button right now. Hit it for us. Use the promo code Live Before Lock to get 50% off your first month. We do have night slate ownership projections as well as rankings that'll still apply there as well. So go check that out now. Promo code Live Before Lock for 50% off of your first month. Get on there. Please support the program as much as you can. Eddie, any parting words for the folks before we go see what happens with these Grizzlies?
Go Grizzlies and Gordon Hayward. I guess that's where I'm trying to make my money tonight. So good luck, everyone. I hope those guys come through for you.
And go Malik Monk, even though I was nearly as hot on him as you were on those guys. But I just want to see
far
Malik
from
Monk
the first time you were right and I wrong. So I hope he gets there for you.
It's a good partnership. We're half right, half wrong all the time. So thank you guys for watching. We appreciate it, and we'll see you again soon. Good luck.